The galaxy was quiet, too quiet. Stars glimmered in the endless darkness, but whispers of fear traveled faster than light. Every known civilization felt it, an approaching storm of destruction. The Erythians, a proud and warlike race, had conquered planets without mercy. Their fleet, massive and relentless, left nothing but charred worlds behind. On a distant trading station, orbiting a small blue planet called Earth, Erythian scouts observed. The humans, primitive by galactic standards, were hardly noticed, until strange signals had begun emanating from Earth's orbit. Messages of warning, yet no one could decipher them. Commander Krell of the Erythian fleet frowned. "Why are they sending warnings?" he demanded. "They are weak. They should hide. They should obey." His lieutenant, Talix, hesitated. "Perhaps they are not as weak as we think, Commander. The energy patterns from their surface, they are unusual." But Krell dismissed the concern. Weak species rarely mattered. Still, something in Talix's words lingered like an uneasy shadow. Back on Earth, humanity went about its life unaware. Cities teemed with energy and light. Children played in parks, and the sky held satellites instead of fear. Yet scientists had noticed anomalies. Objects moving against known physics, signals from deep space, and an eerie calm before chaos. Dr. Elena Voss, a leading astrophysicist, stood in her observatory, staring at a blinking light on her monitor. It pulsed in a pattern almost intelligent. She whispered, "They're coming, and we need to be ready." Her words were met with skepticism. Governments debated protocols. Military leaders prepared defenses, but deep down, humanity had never faced anything like the Erythians. The warnings from space were not a bluff. They were inevitable. And then it happened. A massive fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system, ships the size of mountains glinting coldly against the sun. Communication attempts failed. Humanity had only two choices, hide or fight, and humanity never chose hiding. On Earth, warships were launched hastily. The best of human engineering had been kept secret, but even that felt fragile. Scientists, engineers, and pilots worked together, unified by a single truth. If the galaxy came to Earth, humanity would not kneel. In orbit, the Erythians were unimpressed at first. The humans had nothing but small ships and clumsy weapons. Krell smiled cruelly. "This will be over quickly. We destroy them, and their system is ours." Yet as the first engagement began, even Krell noticed the unexpected. Human ships moved, with precision, unpredictable patterns that his fleet struggled to counter. Their weapons were crude compared to Erythian plasma cannons, but they hit critical systems again and again. On the ground, humans watched the sky fill with fire. Families hid in shelters, praying, terrified yet unbroken. And every time a human ship returned victorious, hope spread like wildfire. Commander Voss, coordinating Earth's defenses, felt a thrill she couldn't describe. The humans were small, fragile, and yet something inside them burned hotter than any weapon. A courage no alien could measure, no sensor could read. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. The first battle was only the beginning. But in that moment, staring at her screens, Elena whispered to herself, "We are not afraid. Not now. Not ever." And somewhere, across the vast darkness, the stars themselves seemed to lean closer, watching Earth's tiny glow. Something had changed, something the galaxy had never expected. Humanity had stepped into the conflict. The first clash shook the solar system. Humanity's small fleet met the Erythian armada near the asteroid belt, a place that had been quiet for billions of years. Rocks floated silently, but now they became shields and cover for the human ships. The Erythians, confident in their power, were surprised to see humans moving strategically, using the environment in ways no alien had expected. Captain Ryland Drake, commanding the flagship Aurora, clenched his fists as enemy lasers cut through space. "Hold formation," he shouted. "Stay together. Protect the civilians." Human pilots weaved through asteroid fields at impossible speeds. Their engines pushed beyond designed limits, and each maneuver was precise, almost artistic. The Erythians fired plasma cannons that could obliterate entire fleets, yet somehow the humans avoided them. Every hit humans scored on Erythian ships felt miraculous not because of power, but because of cunning. On Earth, people watched live feeds in awe and fear. Cities were silent, eyes glued to screens. Children clutched their parents' hands. Elders whispered prayers that had not been spoken in decades. And as human ships struck the invaders again and again, a spark of hope ignited in every heart. Humanity was small, yes, but it refused to break. Ryland's crew felt the weight of the galaxy's expectations. Engineers worked tirelessly, repairing, damaged ships while pilots fought. Even when their weapons seemed weak, they adapted. They rigged asteroids with explosive charges, used gravity wells to pull Erythian ships off course, and found ways to strike at vulnerable engines. Every human victory was a combination of courage, creativity, and sheer stubbornness. In the Erythian flagship, Commander Krell watched in disbelief. His fleet had never faced an enemy like this. They are not afraid. They fight with strategy. With heart, he growled. Talix nodded, finally seeing what Krell had ignored. Commander, they are more than primitive. They are something else. The battle intensified. Human ships began to coordinate in patterns that seemed impossible. Even when numbers were against them, they found ways to divide, confuse, and strike. The Erythians underestimated not only their courage but their ability to learn quickly, adapt, and innovate in the heat of battle. Captain Drake glanced at his crew, sweat and grime covering their faces. "Remember this," he said, voice firm. "We fight not because we are strong, but because we will not surrender. Every ship, every life, every moment counts. We are human, and that is enough." Explosions painted the void in red and gold. One by one, Erythian ships fell, but human losses were also heavy. Pilots and crew screamed through comms, some never to return. Yet with every sacrifice, the humans pushed forward, refusing to yield even an inch. Their determination was palpable, radiating through the fleet like a living pulse. On Earth, Elena Voss monitored the battle with tears in her eyes. She saw the courage, the brilliance, and the sacrifice of humanity reflected in every pilot and soldier. Her heart ached, but she could not look away. Humanity was fighting with everything it had, and somehow it was enough. Hours passed, and the first wave ended. The humans had won. Barely. Their fleet was battered, smoke drifting from damaged ships, engines barely functional. But the Erythians had retreated, shocked and enraged. The humans had sent a message loud and clear. Earth was not weak. Earth would not kneel. As silence returned, broken only by alarms and the hum of damaged engines, Captain Drake whispered to himself, exhaustion heavy in his bones. "We did it. For Earth. For humanity." Somewhere in the shadows of space, Krell vowed revenge. But for now, humanity had proved something the galaxy would never forget. Courage, creativity, and heart could stand against even the greatest power in the stars, and the universe began to take note. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and it was not by chance, it was by choice. The Erythians retreated, but the galaxy had changed. What had seemed like a minor encounter was now a warning. Humans were not to be underestimated. In the dark, corridors of the Erythian flagship, Commander Krell seethed with anger. "They are more dangerous than we imagined," he growled, fists clenching. "They fight with heart. They think. They adapt. They survive." Lieutenant Talix watched silently. "Commander, we cannot underestimate them. They are learning, faster than any species we have faced. If we strike again too soon, it may cost us." Krell's eyes narrowed. "We strike when they are weakest. We will crush their fleet, burn their cities, and finally make them kneel." Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity tried to recover. The battle had left scars on the planet and in the hearts of its people. Families mourned the lost, while pilots and engineers worked day and night to repair damaged ships. There was no time to grieve for long. The Erythians would return. Captain Ryland Drake stood on the bridge of Aurora, staring at the stars. His crew were exhausted but determined. "We've survived the first wave," he said quietly, voice full of both pride and sadness. "But the fight is far from over. We must prepare, train harder, and think smarter. The Erythians will come again." Dr. Elena Voss gathered her team of scientists and engineers. The human fleet had performed miracles with limited resources. But Elena knew they needed more than courage, they needed ingenuity. They studied alien technology from the wreckage, adapted new strategies, and worked tirelessly to give humans a chance against the overwhelming enemy. The first signs of the second attack came in whispers. Erythian scouts probed deeper into the solar system, testing humanity's defenses. They were met with ambushes, clever traps, and resistance at every turn. Each skirmish taught humans new lessons, but the toll was high. Ships were lost, brave pilots were gone, and the shadow of fear grew heavier. In the darkness of space, Rylan looked at his crew. "Every loss hurts," he said softly, "but every victory matters. Remember why we fight. Remember Earth. Remember humanity." The human fleet began to coordinate in ways no alien had predicted. They used decoys, false signals, and hit-and-run attacks. Humanity. Every ship, every pilot, every person contributed to the fight. The Erythians had never encountered such determination. On Earth, children drew pictures of ships and heroes, unaware that their drawings reflected reality. Families lit candles and held vigils for those in space. The planet itself seemed to join in the collective heartbeat of defiance, silent yet powerful. The Erythians, frustrated by repeated failures, began planning a massive strike. Krell demanded precision, cruelty, and speed. Destroy their fleet in a single blow. Leave nothing alive. Show them the price of defiance. But humans were ready. The lessons of the first battle had been burned into every mind, every system. They had seen the Erythians' arrogance and learned to anticipate it. Captain Drake's voice echoed across the fleet. "We will not be broken. We fight for each other, for every life on Earth. And together, we are stronger than any force that dares to threaten us." As preparations for the next encounter began, tension gripped the solar system. Every planet, every station, every ship waited in silent anticipation. Humans had shown the galaxy that they could survive against impossible odds, but the Erythians would not stop. And in the shadow of that inevitability, something extraordinary began to emerge. Humanity's courage was no longer just about survival. It was about hope, unity, and defiance. With each new tactic, each brave act, humans carved a reputation that would echo across the stars. The galaxy was watching. The galaxy was learning. And, deep in the dark corners of space, even the stars seemed to lean closer, waiting to see what humans would do next. The second wave came like a storm. The Erythians returned in force, ships glinting like black mountains in the void. Their numbers were terrifying, their weapons deadly, but humanity was ready. Every planet, every station, and every ship had been prepared for this moment. Captain Rylan Drake stood on the bridge of Aurora, watching the fleet. Exhaustion lined his face, but his eyes burned with determination. "Remember your training. Remember why we fight. Protect each other, protect Earth. We survive together or we fall together." The human fleet surged forward, weaving through asteroid belts and solar debris. Engineers had modified weapons, combining human ingenuity with alien technology scavenged from the first battle. The fleet moved as one, a dance of chaos and precision that confounded the Erythians. In the midst of battle, Lieutenant Kara Miles piloted her fighter with fearless skill. Her ship darted through fire, lasers grazing the hull. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. "We must do this." She targeted a massive Erythian dreadnought and unleashed a torrent of missiles designed to exploit a flaw in its armor. Explosions lit up the void. The dreadnought shuddered, systems failing one by one. Kara's heart raced. "We're not just surviving, we're winning." On Earth, civilians watched through live feeds, tears streaming down their faces. Children cheered. Parents held, their loved ones tight. Every victory, no matter how small, gave them hope. Humanity was fighting back against an enemy that should have crushed them in an instant. In the Erythian flagship, Commander Krell slammed his fist against a console. Impossible! How are they still standing? They should be broken. Talix, silent until now, finally spoke. Commander, they fight with heart. They adapt. They learn. This is something we have never seen. Krell's fury was like a storm inside him. Then we will burn them out, crush them, and leave no survivors. But the humans were not so easily broken. Using every tactic, every resource, they outsmarted the invaders. Civilian freighters became supply lines and decoys. Satellites were rigged as explosives. Even damaged ships were used as bait to lure Erythians into traps. Every act of courage, every creative strategy, turned the tide in humanity's favor. Captain Drake saw the moment when the human fleet had the advantage. He ordered a coordinated strike, a maneuver so bold it seemed reckless. The fleet surged together, concentrated fire on the Erythian command ships. Explosions rippled through space, tearing apart hulls and scattering debris. For the first time, Krell's fleet wavered. Ships slowed, faltered, and fell. The humans pressed forward, relentless. Every human life lost in previous battles had not been in vain. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier's sacrifice pushed the fleet closer to victory. Amid the chaos, Dr. Elena Voss monitored energy readings and communications, her mind racing. We've done the impossible before, she said quietly, and we can do it again. Focus on their weaknesses, exploit every chance. Humanity is stronger than they believe. Hours passed, and the Erythians began to retreat, their morale shattered. The human fleet, battered and weary, held their ground. Captain Drake watched as the enemy fled into the darkness, and a cheer rose from the remaining ships. Humanity had survived, and for the first time, they had won a major victory. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter that night. On Earth, people celebrated quietly, knowing that the fight was far from over, but believing in their strength. Humanity had proven something incredible. Even in the face of the galaxy's greatest power, courage, unity, and ingenuity could prevail, and deep in the void where shadows lingered, the Erythians plotted. But humanity had shown them one undeniable truth. They were no longer a species to be underestimated. The tide had turned, and the galaxy was watching. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Humanity had won their first victory, but the war was far from over. The Erythians, humiliated and enraged, returned stronger and smarter. Their fleet loomed over Earth's orbit like a dark storm cloud, each ship bristling with weapons capable of annihilating entire cities. Captain Ryland Drake watched the enemy through the viewport of Aurora, his jaw tight. "This is the real test," he said softly, voice carrying the weight of responsibility. "Every life we save, every planet we protect, every human standing here matters. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every soul on Earth." The human fleet prepared with precision. Engineers worked feverishly to repair damaged ships, retrofit weapons, and upgrade defenses. Pilots ran simulations, rehearsing maneuvers, over and over. Even civilians contributed, operating supply lines, guiding intelligence, and sending messages of hope to the front lines. Humanity's spirit was everywhere, unbroken, fierce, and radiant. The first clash erupted near Mars. Human. Ships darted through the debris of asteroids and abandoned satellites. Lasers and missiles streaked through space, bright against the dark void. Every strike from the humans was calculated, every move measured. Despite being outnumbered, they struck at the weak points of the Erythian fleet again and again. Lieutenant Kara Miles led a squadron through the enemy lines. Her heart pounded with fear, but determination was stronger. "We fight for Earth," she whispered, gripping the controls. "We fight for everyone who cannot fight. This is our moment." Explosions rocked the void as Erythian ships faltered, under the relentless attacks. Yet the humans paid a price. The cries of comrades lost echoed across comms, haunting every pilot. Captain Drake watched as his friends and allies fell. His heart ached, but he refused to let despair take hold. "We cannot stop, we cannot falter," he said. Their fear is ours to overcome. On Earth, Dr. Elena Voss monitored the battle in real time. Her fingers flew over consoles, sending energy recalibrations, distributing shields and coordinating reinforcements. Tears streaked her face as she watched brave pilots sacrifice everything to protect the planet. "They are humanity's heart," she whispered, "and it is unbreakable." The tide of battle shifted again. Humanity's ingenuity became their greatest weapon. Engineers had created decoy ships that emitted false energy signatures. Pilots used gravity wells from nearby planets to hurl Erythian vessels into chaos. Even the smallest freighters, laden with explosives, became instruments of tactical brilliance. The galaxy had never seen such resilience, such cunning born from desperation and hope. Commander Krell seethed in the Erythian flagship. "Impossible," he roared. "How do they keep fighting? How do they survive against impossible odds?" Talix replied quietly, "Because they are not just fighting to survive. They are fighting for each other. They are stronger than any weapon we have ever built." Hours passed like days. Stars were obscured by fire and debris. Human ships fell, but the Erythian fleet suffered far more. Captain Drake rallied his crew, reminding them of the stakes, reminding them that courage could turn the impossible into reality. "Every moment we endure, every strike we make, is a message to the galaxy. Humans will never surrender." Finally, as the first light of Earth's dawn glimmered across space, the Erythians began to retreat. Their massive ships limped away, shattered and broken. Humanity had survived the heart of battle. The cost had been great, but the lesson was clear. Unity, courage, and ingenuity could stand against even the most terrifying force in the galaxy. On Earth, people erupted in quiet celebrations. Children cheered, families hugged tightly, and somewhere, a single flag fluttered in the wind, a symbol that humans, no matter the odds, would rise to face the darkness. Captain Drake stared at the stars, weary but proud. "We have won this battle," he said softly. "But the war is not over. And the galaxy will never forget us." Somewhere, deep in the void, even the stars seemed to shine brighter. Humanity had shown the universe their true heart, and the galaxy trembled in awe. The war was far from over. Though the Erythians had retreated, they were gathering forces on the edge of known space, preparing for a strike that could end humanity in a single blow. The humans knew this. Every ship, every mind, every heartbeat was preparing for the moment when the galaxy's deadliest force would return. Captain Ryland Drake walked the decks of Aurora, the weight of leadership pressing heavily on his shoulders. Crew members repaired weapons, patched hulls, and recalibrated shields. Every action, no matter how small, mattered. "We've faced them before," Rylani said quietly, "and we survived. This time, we fight not just for Earth, but for every life in the galaxy that fears them. We cannot fail." Across the solar system, engineers and scientists worked tirelessly. Dr. Elena Voss coordinated operations, analyzing alien technology, devising strategies, and predicting enemy moves. Her voice carried through comms, calm yet firm. "Focus on their weaknesses, exploit every opportunity. Humanity's strength lies not in power, but in ingenuity, courage, and unity. We are ready." The Erythians struck without warning. Their fleet emerged from the darkness like a tidal wave, ships bristling with weapons, engines glowing with deadly energy. Space became a battlefield, stars disappearing behind fire and explosions. The humans braced themselves, fear present but buried beneath determination. Lieutenant Kara Miles piloted her fighter through a barrage of lasers. Sweat dripped from her brow as alarms blared. Her squadron faltered under heavy fire, yet she pressed on. "For Earth, for humanity," she shouted into the comms. Her words carried through every ship, fueling courage, reminding everyone why they fought. Captain Drake coordinated the fleet, giving orders with precision and calm. "Split into 2 formations. Use the asteroid belts for cover. Target command ships first." Every maneuver was risky, But every human moved with a determination that surprised the Erythians. Even small civilian vessels, repurposed as support, ships became invaluable in the fight. Explosions rocked the void, sending debris tumbling through space. Human ships were damaged, some destroyed, but their ingenuity turned the tide again. Engineers triggered hidden mines in asteroid fields, creating deadly traps. Pilots used gravitational anomalies to redirect enemy fire. Every sacrifice mattered. Every tactic reflected human resilience. On Earth, citizens watched with a mixture of awe and fear. Families huddled together, eyes glued to live feeds, hearts pounding with every explosion. Children held toys shaped like ships, imagining their heroes fighting in the stars. Hope and fear intertwined, but one thing was clear. Humanity would not break. Commander Krell aboard his flagship raged at the unexpected resistance. How do they fight so fiercely? How do they endure such loss? Talix answered softly. They fight for each other, not for glory. Their hearts are their weapons. That is something we do not understand. Hours of relentless battle pushed humans and Erythians to their limits. Human ships fell, crews were lost, and hope threatened to falter. Yet every time despair loomed, courage rose again. Captain Drake watched his crew, pride swelling despite exhaustion. We endure because we must. We fight because we cannot allow fear to rule. Humanity survives. Humanity thrives. Finally, the turning moment arrived. Human ingenuity combined with bravery struck the Erythian flagship. Missiles tore through shields, engines faltered, and the massive ship began to drift, crippled. Seeing this, other Erythian vessels faltered, confusion spreading like wildfire. As the Erythians retreated once more, Captain Drake's voice resonated across the fleet. We have faced the impossible and lived. Today, we have shown the galaxy what humanity is. Remember this victory, honor the fallen, and prepare, for we are not done, and neither is the universe with us. On Earth, people wept tears of relief and joy. Humanity had faced annihilation and stood unbroken. Every sacrifice had counted, every heart had mattered. The message was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. The galaxy had been warned, and its inhabitants had begun to tremble with newfound respect. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, as if witnessing humanity's resilience. Fear had been replaced with awe. Hope had become a weapon, more powerful than any laser or missile. Humanity had endured, and in doing so had begun to claim its place among the stars. The galaxy held its breath. The Erythians had returned once more, this time with their full might. Entire fleets darkened the void, engines burning like firestorms, ready to crush humanity entirely. Earth trembled beneath the approaching shadow, but the humans stood unshaken. Captain. Ryland Drake looked across the bridge of Aurora, seeing his crew, worn, exhausted, yet unbroken. This is it, he said, voice steady. The moment that will define who we are. We fight not just for Earth, but for every world that hopes, every life that dreams. We show the galaxy what humanity truly is. The human fleet had grown, stronger, smarter, and bolder. Engineers had upgraded ships, scientists had refined weapons, and pilots had trained tirelessly. Every crew member, every civilian involved carried a single truth in their hearts. Humanity would not bow. The first exchange was thunderous. Laser fire streaked through space. Missiles tore through the void, and the Erythian ships unleashed horrors no human had ever faced. Yet the humans adapted instantly. Every ambush, every strike, every tactic reflected ingenuity born from desperation and courage. Lieutenant Kara Miles led a daring maneuver, weaving her fighter through enemy fire. Her squadron followed with precision, striking at the heart of an Erythian dreadnought. Explosions lit the darkness, tearing massive ships apart. "We fight for our home," she cried as her voice carried across comms to every human ship. "We fight for humanity." Captain Drake coordinated the fleet with unmatched calm. Focus on their command ships, target engines and weapon arrays. Use everything we have, every trick, every plan. Humans had learned from every previous encounter. Even small freighters were turned into weapons, decoys, or traps. Every act of courage became a weapon in itself. On Earth, citizens watched, hearts pounding. Families held each other tightly, eyes shining with hope and fear. Every human victory in space became a heartbeat for the planet below, a reminder that courage could shine brighter than fear. Dr. Elena Voss monitored the battle from mission control. Sweat streaked her face as she calculated trajectories, energy, surges, and enemy weaknesses. Her voice rang through the fleet. They are strong, but we are smarter. They have power, but we have heart. Remember, humanity survives because we fight together. The Erythians faltered. Commander Krell's rage was palpable as his ships were destroyed one by one. "How is this possible?" he demanded. Talix, now fully understanding, replied quietly, "They fight for each other, not just for victory. That is something no weapon can destroy." Humanity pressed the attack. Ships that had once been considered fragile became deadly instruments of strategy. Pilots sacrificed themselves to destroy enemy command centers. Engineers rigged collapsing asteroid fields into massive traps. Every human action mattered. Every life became a symbol of courage. Hours of relentless battle culminated in a single decisive strike. Captain Drake's fleet surrounded the remaining Erythian command ships. With coordinated precision, energy volleys and missiles tore through shields. The flagship shuddered, systems failing. Explosions engulfed the enemy, scattering their fleet into retreat. Silence fell. Stars glimmered in the aftermath of fire and destruction. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won. The Erythians retreated, broken, humiliated, and forever wary of the species they had underestimated. On Earth, people cheered, cried, and hugged. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. Their courage, ingenuity, and unity had shown the galaxy that humans were not just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with. Captain Drake looked at his fleet, battered but alive, and whispered, "We are humanity. We endure. We rise. And the galaxy will remember us forever." Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, stars seemed to shine brighter. The universe had witnessed something extraordinary. A small blue planet had dared to stand against a terror that spanned worlds, and had triumphed. Humanity had stepped fully into the galactic stage. Fear had been replaced with awe. Respect had been earned with courage. And the galaxy, vast and indifferent, had finally understood. When humanity fights, the universe itself trembles.